I would like to preface the pre-Shabbos morning Shabbos Rasha by expressing an overwhelming sense of Hakaras Hatov, tremendous gratitude to our dear anonymous sponsors sponsoring the Shabbos morning, a pre-Shabbos morning Drasha, L'iloi Nishmas Moshe Yisrael ben Gavriel, Hadassah Bas Hakana, Yeshaya Leib ben Harab David Yitzchak, and Malchus Sarah Bas Sholem Eliyahu, Halayim HaSholem, the Heilig Neshama Shemizocha, to a tremendous and a continuous Aliyas HaNeshama and Gan Eden Shamayla Mechayel Achayel. I want to thank as well Ameomak Alev, Mr. Isaac Sklar, for graciously sponsoring as well in honor of some Rabbi Feiner. It's really unnecessary, but thank you so very much. And a refuah shalema for all of Choli Yisrael. Yishkayach to the Sklar Mishpacha, Metashem, all the tefillas should be Neskabel, Barotzen, Bekarov, and everyone who needs it should be Zocha to refuah shalema, Yeshuas, Nechamas, Simchas, and only Besuras Tovos for many, many happy and healthy years up ahead. Be'ezah Hashem Yisbarach. You read about it, you heard about it, the unbelievable story about Mr. Eli Beer, the head of Hatzalah in Eretz Yisrael, and he was interviewed last week's Mishpacha magazine. He described how he finally woke up after being on a respirator for quite some time. And then says, Eli, the miracle happened and the medicine worked. The next time they woke me up, I could breathe on my own. I didn't even think that I was alive. And the first thing I did was call my wife. I was so excited. I told her, we can now spend Pesach together. The only thing was, she told me that Pesach was already over. I couldn't believe it. Now let me turn your attention to the end of that article. Because you see, Morai for Abosai, today is Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parshas Emor, and it's also Pesach Sheni. And it's a Pesach Sheni that's a quasi-yontif. We know many are knowing, many have the custom not to say Tachanun. On Pesach Sheni, we curtail the davening. Okay, but Lamaisa, how many of you today are truly celebrating and living and breathing on what a Pesach Sheni is all about? But there's at least one Jew in this world who is living and tasting and experiencing that joy, that sense of fulfillment of what a Pesach Sheni can bring to an individual, what it brought to those who were Tamei Lameis, who were in a state of impurity back when Pesach Rishon was offered, and they turned to Moshe Rabbeinu. Parshas Baluscha relates, Alamani Gara, why should we be any worse off? We also want to bring the Korban Pesach. We also want to experience what a Pesach is all about. Well, my dear friends, and Eli Beer, today in Eretz Yisrael, he did just that. The end of the article shares with us, but one thing was bothering me. When I walked down those steps, when he made his way back to Artzeinu HaKadosh, to Eretz Yisrael, to his homeland, and a wealthy individual who had sponsored the flight, there he starts walking down the steps, continues Eli Beer, the happiest man in the world, seeing my family when I thought I'd never see them again. At that moment, I realized what it was. For the first time in my life, I missed not only being with my family at the Seder, I missed the Seder. I woke up the last day of Pesach. So I decided then and there, I am doing a Pesach Sheni Seder. A real Pesach Sheni for those, as the Torah tells us, who are far away. So next Friday, he was interviewed last week, next Friday I'm going to have a real Seder and recount the miracle of my own personal salvation. And indeed, there are pictures going around of Eli Beer, who today, Pesach Sheni in Eretz Yisrael, he celebrated and he had a Pesach Sheni Seder. No, we don't have the schus of actually being makriv, of offering a Korban Pesach. But Lamaisa. And Eli Beer is saying to us all that we're happy to be alive. And if we're alive and we can thank Hashem for the chayris of being alive and being a Yid and having family around us, and we miss golden opportunities, then when Hashem does give you those opportunities, chaparine, seize the moment. Pesach Sheni teaches us all that if you want something badly enough, hold on. And as Rashi tells us in Chumash, and those who were Tamei Lameis, who didn't have the opportunity to involve themselves in the first Pesach, they turned to Moshe Rabbeinu on those pages of Parshas Baloscha. We read, Alamani Gara Bilti Hakriv, why should we be any worse off? We also have a desire, right? So Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz. And in Sefer Das Torah, the Mir Mashkiach tells us as follows. Rashi, who informs us that Miskalgal and Schus Hayidei Zakai, and we have a new parsha in the Torah. We're introduced to a parsha called Pesach Sheni because there was a group in Klal Yisrael that wanted something so badly, that yearned so endlessly, that craved something, and with such an unparalleled desire, they created a new parsha in the Torah. And what's this based on, right? So of Yerucham, the Posuk in Shmos Lamed Gimel Zayin, who sowed V'haya Komavakesh Hashem. What's the address to where Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz is sending us? We go to the pages of Parshas Kisisa. And the Torah Kadosh relates, Moshe yikach es'oel v'natolo michutz lamachane. Moshe set up his tent, michutz, from outside the Jewish encampment. V'karlo moed, and he called it the tent of meeting. That's where the Shekhinah would come and speak with Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's where. Let's read on. Anyone who is a Mavakesh Hashem, you wanted to meet the Shekhinah, even if it means traveling Michutz Lamachane, but you wanted to converse to Shailas and Moshe Rabbeinu. You wanted to be next to the Shekhinah. Who had this chus? You know who's going to be next to the Shekhinah? Explains Rabbi Yerucham, if you're a Mavakesh Hashem, that's what Hashem wants to see. You want to get an answer from Moshe Rabbeinu. You want to be Zaycha to hear the word of God, to hear it through the messenger of God. Then it has to be predicated on what? And you being a Mavakesh Hashem. If you're a Mavakesh Hashem, Hashem comes down to you. If you're a Mavakesh Hashem, you could have a parsha in the Torah called Pesach Sheni introduced. Al Yodcha, through you, you will be the conduit. You can merit to be the medium through which a Torah HaKadosha will give us a new parsha, Pesach Sheni. But what's it dependent on? It's contingent on one thing and one thing only. Are you a Mavakesh? Do you want it? And how badly do you want it? Eli Beer wanted a Pesach. He didn't just say, thank you Hashem. He's saying, I missed my Pesach, I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to make my Pesach Sheni the most meaningful one ever. And you bet he did that today in Eretz Yisrael. You know, gets to see the Shekhinah V'haya Komavakesh Hashem. How badly do you want it? What's your unquenchable thirst in life really for? Your insatiable appetite, those desires, those yearnings. What are you yearning for? If you're a Mavakesh Hashem, then Hashem says, I'm going to let you see me. I'm going to let you speak to me. I'm going to let you hear the word of Moshe Rabbeinu that's going to convey what the Shekhinah wants to convey. But it's got to come down to you being Mavakesh Hashem. We mentioned the story in the past, the Steipler goat. He learned in the Vardika Yeshiva, along with many other great Talmidei Chachamim. And when the young Rav Chaim Shmulevitz went to visit his uncle, Rav Avram Yafin, the Rosh Yeshiva, in the Vardika Yeshiva in Europe, he went to visit his dear uncle, and he says, Uncle, please show me around the Beis Medrash and tell me who are the top Bachrim. And he walked him around, he said, you see him, he's the biggest Lamdan, and him, he's the biggest Tzaddik, he's the biggest Masmid, he has the greatest wealth of Yediyas and Shas and Poskim. And one by one, he would highlight and point out various milas, various aptitudes and myriad talents, characteristic of so many within that sacred Beis Medrash. And then he says, Uncle, I understand that he's the greatest in that category, in this category, but I want to know, Acharei Kechlos HaKohen, all is said and done, tell me, my dear uncle, tell me who is the greatest one in this Beis Medrash and who's going to be the greatest of them all. And he spotted a young boy in the corner. And he says, you see that young man? His name is Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky. The one isolated there behind that stender. The one learning he's not the most precocious of them all. He is not the Eloi Shebiluyim. He does not have the greatest ideas. He doesn't have a phenomenal memory. But he's going to be the biggest and the greatest of them all. Why? Because he's the greatest Mavakesh. Because he wants it more badly. He wants it more badly than anybody else. So we all have a drive in life. We all have things that we yearn for, that we crave in life. And let's turn back to those same pages in Parshas Be'aloscha. It's a parsha that began Be'aloscha Saneros. You got to go up in life, you got to be steiging, you got to think about the candles. The non-idle, the always in motion flame, the eternal flame that dwells inside you, that neshama that never is at rest, the Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam that's always flickering, that's always yearning, that's always driving and propelling you to grow and to attain yet loftier heights. Ba'alos chasaneros, take your own Ner and keep steiging and keep growing. Pesach Sheni Lamani Gara, I want it, I want mitzvahs, I want more and more mitzvahs. Same Rabbeinu Yerucham tells us. Aaron HaKohen, he saw the kabbanos of the Nesiim at the close of Parshas Noso. And he says, I want something. Yes, Rav Yerucham has so many of the Balei Musar. But Aaron HaKohen, you're already the Kohen Gadol. You get to go L'fnai V'L'fnim. You have so much already on your plate. Why do you want something else? To which Rav Yerucham and Balei Musar explain, because if you love mitzvahs and that's your drive, that is your goal in life, then Hashem, bring it on. Bring it on. I want another one. And I want another one. I'm a Mavakesh Hashem and Mavakesh Hashem wants every single precious golden opportunity to do yet Nocha Mitzvah. If you're an emes of Mavakesh, you want more and more mitzvahs. Doesn't matter how many you have. Doesn't matter how much Torah you already learned. You're always seeking more. You're always on fire. You're always with the bread. Eslavis, wanting to grow, wanting to steig. Mechayil achayil. And what happens if you don't channel and direct that drive, that bikush in the right direction? Then as we turn the pages in Parshas Be'aloscha, what do we read? We read about the Parsha, the Slav, Klal Yisrael, they weren't happy with just the man. They wanted the meat, Hashem sends down the Slav. And then what happens? There's a Makkah Rabba Ma'od. There's a great plague. Vayikra Hashem Amakim Ahu Kivras HaTaiva. Kisham Kavru Asama Misavim. There was a nation that desired things. And it was such a desire that the name of the place itself became Kivras HaTaiva. And what is Kivras HaTaiva? It's a place the Torah wants us to know. You got to bury the Taiva, bury those bad, erroneous, fallacious, and those pejorative Taivas. Bury them deep in the ground. It's a place of Kivras HaTaiva. And writes the same Rav Yerucham. What is Kivras HaTaiva? Kol ba'kasha ledavar she'eino tzarich lo. If you're being mavakish things that you don't really need, that's kvar nikris b'shem taiva. That already is stamped with the pejorative. A title of a taiva. V'sos even something that might be food, it might be basar, it might be slav. But if you don't really need it, and that's what you're thirsting for, and that's what you're yearning for, then that's called a taiva. Right, so Rav Yerucham, do you want a bikush l'shem shamayim, or do you want a taiva? A taiva is for you, a bikush, an emistik a bikush. It's for the glory of the Creator, is for the kavod Hashchina. David HaMelech tells us in the pages of Tehillah, and we have the oft-asked query, that famous age-old question. David HaMelech, make up your mind. Shivti bebeis Hashem koi mechai alachas b'noam Hashem l'vakir beichalo. Is it a sheila or is it a bakasha? Achashaltem beis Hashem osa vakesh. Which one is it, David? Moshe Shmuel Shapira, Talmud of the Brisker Rav, writes in his wonderful Sefer Zov Mishvah that a sheila is something that I request, but I don't really need it. My life doesn't depend on it. Sheila is, you want to borrow Lashon Shoel. You want to borrow someone's car. If you really needed one, you'd make sure to find a way to get it, even if it's a 30-year-old used Chevy. But if you need a car, you're going to get it. Sheila is, I have a question, I get an answer. No, I don't get answered. Oh, it's gefährlich. Bakosha is the very word as it resonates. The very word connotes the sense, right? So Moshe Shmuel Shapira, that efshar lichios bilada, I can't live without it. David says to the Ribono Shel Olam, Acha sha'alti means Hashem, I have one sheila, but Hashem, by me in life, it's not stam a sheila b'alma, it doesn't stay. Simply branded a sheila. By me, osa avakesh, it's a bikush, it's a bakosha. I can't live without it. That is my life. I can't live without shivti b'veish Hashem koi mechayai. And even though he has to fight wars, and even though he has to deal with the problems of the people, and he has to be at the forefront of Klal Yisrael, still, what's my bikush in life? I want one thing and one thing only. I want to be Mavakesh Hashem. You want to be Masakein Cheta Egel. You want to talk to Moshe Rabbeinu. You want to rendezvous with the Shechina. You know what it comes down to? You are Mavakesh Hashem. You can choose. You want to be Mavakesh Hashem. Things you really need, things that will transform you forever. Or you want to be Mavakesh. You want restaurants. You want food. You want drink. You want alcohol, you want your tobacco, your marijuana, you want your fun and your games and your shows and your movies. That's a taiva, because we all know you can live without it. What's life all about? This week's Parsha Emor, we have to make a Kiddush Hashem. And a Kiddush Hashem, is the Gemara Yuma Peivav relates, you got to go out there and you got to show the world, be that all the Goyim, that they look at the Jews and say, well, look at how he walks, look at how he talks. Well, you know what the world needs to see? The world needs to see that we, the Yid and Klal Yisrael, are going to be the models, that we're living our lives to be Mavakshei Hashem. To be in pursuit of living life and loving loving it. Why? Not for us, not for our own personal gratification, not for big homes and fancy cars, fancy clothing and jewelry, and all the culinary delights. It's not to satisfy your own taivas. Give us a taiva, let's bury the taiva. Taiva takes you out of the world. But in Mavakesh Hashem, that's how you grow, that's how you steig in this world. Someone wrote in to Reader's Digest a while back a wonderful piece. It was by Jerry Zezima. And he laments how when he talks to his children, and he asks his kids when they come home from school in America, how was school today? Child says, fine. What did you do? Child says, nothing. Do you have any homework? I don't know. Ask your child about any subject directly involving him or her, and you'll get one of three responses. Fine, nothing, or I don't know. What's happening in the world? Says, can you imagine if these children grow up to be the leaders of tomorrow? And we might hear the following interaction. The reporter says, Mr. President, how did the summit go today? President, fine. A reporter, what did you discuss? President, nothing. A reporter, does this mean that the world is on the brink of nuclear disaster? I don't know. So what are we producing? He closes his article as follows. Another irritating response today's parents get is nobody. For example, if the phone rings and your teenager answers it and stays on the line for 45 minutes, and eventually, perhaps because of a house fire, has to hang up, and you ask who called, the response will almost always be nobody. And the really scary part is that your child's friend will say the same thing. I'd say his or her parents when they ask the very same question. Maybe that's why some people grow up to be nobodies. All I could say, parents, if you don't want your children to be nobodies, let's teach them what life is all about. So life is about the living life, but living it to be Mavakesh Hashem. Not to satisfy your own taivas. Pesach Sheni taught us and will always continue to teach us. We want more mitzvahs and more mitzvahs. We want to be machadish in the Torah. We want to get closer to Hashem, even if we're not obligated. Any golden opportunity, Hashem, throw it our way. Just want to close with an email that I received already weeks ago when the coronavirus was at its peak in Italy. And a resident of Italy was talking about all the things he was gaining, an epiphany, an awakening he had. Appreciating what life is all about. And he realized that at home people might think they're prisoners because of Mr. Coronavirus. But indeed it does us a great favor despite everything. Because living in this time is freeing us from arrogance, because we see that we are nothing and we have no control of anything. It frees us from envy because we understand that it is useless, and it shows us the way back to God. Finally, it makes us turn to God, and in the end, it is He and only He who can protect us. So taking a balance sheet, Mr. Coronavirus can even kill us. But at the end of the day, He certainly teaches us to live. Let's live. But let's live in the mitzvahs, let's live with the mitzvahs. Let's live lives with the model of Pesach Sheni, always at the forefront of our heart and mind. Have Hashem, I want to be a Mavakesh Hashem. I want to get closer to you, I want the mitzvahs, so bring it on. So you have time to think about it. Think about the living life. Think about what life is all about. Bury your taivas for dvorim gashmiyin, for the non-essentials, and go ahead and conjure up that flame of living life as an emistik and mavakesh Hashem, always on a quest to get ever closer. Eibishter, I want you, I want your Torah, and I want your mitzvahs. So go out and enjoy a leibedik, a freilich, and Pesach Sheni, and have a relaxing, most meaningful, a bren, exciting, filled, kavaldik Shabbos up ahead, a good Shabbos.